In this video, we're going to be talking more about the activities aspect of the EAR triangle for your 7 to 9 month old. Remembering that activities need to be appropriate, child-centered, and involve serve and return is what we're talking about when we use the EAR framework to help understand how we can best play with purpose with our children. When we talk about activities being appropriate for a 7 to 9 month old, we want to really zero in on that development of where our child is at 7 to 9 months, what areas of development we're pointing in the direction of. We know that at this stage, baby is going to be exploring more. They're going to be developing greater levels of independent mobility in their environments that they play in. We know that they're going to be developing greater levels of fine motor skills, being able to use their hands in a more coordinated way. We know that they're going to be using gestures more to be able to communicate, and higher levels of movement in their tongue and mouth to try to communicate with the people in their lives. Knowing all that, we want to make sure that the activities that we present to them are appropriate. And so if we know that our child is developing greater levels of mobility, we want to make sure they spend time out of positioners. This is not a time for your little one to be in a bumbo seat or an exerciser or a Johnny jumper or those sorts of things. Typically, anything that puts a child in a supported standing position before they're ready is not good for overall spinal, hip, pelvis development. You want a child to be able to pull to stand and be able to maintain a standing position before they are able to, before they're ever passively put into those items. Next, if we're continuing to look at activities being appropriate, we want to again look in the direction that development is pointing in. If our little one is beginning to be more exploratory and using their hands in a more functional standpoint, we want to make sure that the objects and toys that are in their environment are ones that promote that. And so objects that promote that are objects that move. Toys like cars with a string that baby can pull on and come towards them, or that moves away that they can try to roll over on their tummy and start to crawl over towards in order to pull the string to pull it towards them. We want to motivate movement. We want to help facilitate those milestones to be developed, and we do that by making sure that we find toys that are appropriate. So at this point, balls are great, pull toys are great, toy trains that you push down the top of and they start to go by themselves just with a real gross push. Baby can do that, and the ball can and the train can move, or the car can move, or whatever it is can move across the floor. Baby has the ability to use their vision, see that, and then move towards it. If we're looking at the development of hand skills, we want to and we were looking at activities that are appropriate, we want to make sure that we're looking at toys that don't just require a simple smack and a response, just a simple smack and a sound. We want baby to actively be doing things with their fingers in order to get what it is that they want, and to be able to do what it is that they want. We want to encourage greater levels of coordination in their hands. If their hands are developing at greater levels, we want to facilitate that. We want to support that. We want to encourage that by motivating them to continue to play. One of the best things that you can do as far as making sure activities are appropriate is provide some loose parts, some recyclables, lots of different containers with different blocks or even spoons, things that are meaningful to your little one. I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. If there are toys that your little one likes to play with that when they hit them they make noise, or I'm not saying throw that away. I'm just saying make sure that your child has some exposure to those toys and materials and manipulatives that enable greater levels of development of their hand skills, their motor skills. And then finally, talking about speech skills. Looking at activities that are appropriate for developing speech and language. Because your child is starting to be able to point more and poke more, it's a great time to continue to work on identifying objects in your environment, your natural environment, and using books and familiar items, making a connection by pointing in a book and pointing in the world is an appropriate way to help develop speech and language skills also. When we're looking at activities that are appropriate and help develop more speech skills, understanding that where your child is they're developing more skills in the ability to use gesture as communication. It's a great time and a very appropriate time to begin using signs, baby signs, during interactions with your little one, and keeping them during the routines. So if a routine that you have with your child is feeding, it's a great time to build in gestures as a form of communication. You can use a real simple more sign for your little one if you are about to give them another scoop of a preferred or favorite food. It's a motivating task. It's an appropriate task to just do a hand over hand, put your hands over their hands and get them to do more. And saying the word and putting your hands up by your mouth also helps encourage speech and language development, because they're watching your mouth and they're watching your gesture, and you're doing a hand over hand and you're encouraging that interaction and that communication, also very appropriate for this age. The next area we're taking a look at underneath activities is activities need to be child-centered. Again, we want to make sure that we're sharing the attention with our kiddos. We're understanding what intention they have when interacting with the objects, tools, and toys in their environment. What intentions do they have in playing? Are they trying to get over on their tummy and are they having a hard time with it? Are they trying to access a toy and getting frustrated? We want to make sure that if they want to play with a giant box instead of the toy that it came with, are we allowing our children to play with the box instead of the toy, putting the toy aside and knowing that what our child really wants to do is climb through the box like a tunnel instead of play with the Tickle Me Elmo or whatever it came in. So we want to make sure that our activities that we do with our little one maintain an aspect of child-centered play, that we're following the lead of the child. If baby wants to bang, nothing like when in Rome, bang with them, bang together, encouraging the next step of development that's along the way. And finally, we want to make sure our activities involve that level of serve and return. By following activities that are appropriate and following activities that are child-centered, you are just by default engaging in serve and return, doing that more, asking them to say more for another scoop of food, putting objects in, taking objects out, asking where did it go? Playing in a child-centered way, playing in an appropriate way with your child, given the direction that they're moving in their developmental milestone trajectory, is already playing serve and return. It's being that responsive caregiver, building that trust, building that relationship, building that consistency in your interactions with your little one. Grab your playbook, reflect on those questions, and I'll see you in our next video where we talk about responses and your 7 to 9 month old.